Good morning. So as we begin, I want to thank you for coming out and for tuning in to celebrate the life of Linda Hammill. We're here to encourage her family and her friends and to spend some time with God. At a moment like this, I'm always drawn to the words of the Apostle Paul in Romans 8:35 through 39, skipping 36. It says this: "Can anything ever separate us from Christ's love? Does it mean he no longer loves us if we have trouble or calamity, or are persecuted, or hungry, or destitute, or in danger, or threatened with death? No. Despite all these things, overwhelming victory is ours through Christ who loved us. I am convinced that nothing can ever separate us from God's love. Neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither our fears for today nor our worries about tomorrow. Not even the powers of hell can separate us from God's love. No power in the sky above or in the earth below. Indeed, nothing in all creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God that is revealed in Christ Jesus our Lord." And near the end of the life, of Paul's life, he wrote to Timothy, acknowledging his time on earth was short and expressing his desire to go on and be with the Lord. As I was reading these, I felt like these words could just as easily have been written by Linda. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, and I have remained faithful. And now the prize awaits me, the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give me on the day of his return. And the prize is not just for me, but for all who eagerly look forward to his appearing. I remember after meeting Linda, and she'd come to the church, she would often just be walking around, and she'd walk to the store, and there'd be a lot of times where she would call me up, "Pastor Don, can I get a ride home? I walked to the store, and it's a lot farther than I thought, and it's hot." I'm like, "You did this last week too, so you should remember this." But I would always give her a ride home. It wasn't anything. And then those rides home, though, were so wonderful. We would talk about how grateful she was for God and for the church, and how she was so excited to be a part of it and to see the family here and the love that was poured out upon everyone. And she had a heart for God. She sought after him. I can't always say that when I do a memorial service or a celebration of life service or a funeral. I can't always say I know that the person was a person that sought after God. But I can tell you without a shadow of doubt that she was a person that sought after God. And I know that she would encourage you all to seek after God, to find him and allow him to change your lives. Well, we're going to take a few moments now to share, if you would like to. I know the family wants to say a couple things, and we're going to open the floor up to whoever would like to. We have a microphone over here, so just come on up and speak here. And make sure that microphone is on. Yeah, it's on. We're just going to open the floor to some words. Or also, the other thing you can do right now is just to sit and reflect on her life. So please come to the front and share your thoughts.
Let's see if I can get through it. Last night I started writing something down, and then I said, So I'm just going to speak. My mom loved her church. She was excited to come here all the time. So I thank everybody for giving her that love. My mom loved her grandbabies. I think she favored them over us kids. They could never do any wrong, even when they were in trouble. They're just kids. Just leave them. We're very grateful for everybody, for the friendship. My mom, we had our differences from time to time through all of my 40 years. But we always came back together. Our battle with cancer, and I say our battle, because she wasn't alone. From the day she was diagnosed to the day that she was tired, the day she went home, we spent every day together. Whether we were driving to Chico or spending 22 days in Inlo, we talked a lot. We didn't talk at all. My brother from Fresno would be on video, share stories, and then we'd tell her, well, how come you never told us before? She grew up in Panama. Her dad was in the military. Talk about the monkeys. I don't know if she ever shared the monkey story, but she would say, the monkeys would pull my hair. My brother always said, why didn't you ever tell us stories before? She was the sweetest person, the most loving person, and I'm so grateful that she was my mom. And I'm grateful for everybody and their prayers. I'm grateful for Judy. The few days that I couldn't sit at the hospital with her, Judy would come and sit with her. There was only 2 people allowed. And then our time trying chemo. And then our last days. She was very peaceful. There was no, I was telling Alma just right now, quickly, she just, the last Monday, there was just a change. But during her passing, it just so happened that her hospice nurse came earlier than was expected to be there that day. And Krishna and the nurse was fussing over her oxygen level and tried to get it. And I had just come back around the corner when she had took her last breath. But it couldn't go any better, because at that moment, although Krishna, Judy, Alma, we were all the caretakers, but in that very moment, I got to be the daughter. I didn't have to make the phone call to hospice and let them know to come. So I think that's what my mom would have wanted, for us not to worry. Very, very peaceful. So I thank everybody for their prayers and their thoughts with our family. Her grandkids loved her and adored her.
I'm going to try. Thank thank you, everybody, for being here, and thanks that are watching. Sorry. Linda's a really special person. She came into our life when she joined the church, and then there were some issues, and Linda actually moved in with us. For those of you who don't know, she lived with Vic and I for almost 2 years. During that time, Linda had never taken care of a checkbook or households or anything else, and so we had to teach her how to be a big girl. We found her apartment, and she was just as happy as could be. I want everybody to know that she loved bananas. We couldn't keep bananas in the house. Her little game, and more than anything, she loved her grandchildren and her kids. But her grandkids could do no harm, and she's going to be missed by a lot of people.
Well, I just wanted to say that when I met Linda, I don't remember, but she was advocating for her grandkids. So I said, this is someone that I could pair up with because she was in such need herself at the time, but the only thing on her mind was her advocating for her grandkids' sports. And I remember Tom saying, there's this woman and she needs something. And I said, give it to her. So that she was an advocate and that she loved even her daughter, and even in the hard times she said, pray for my daughter, pray for my daughter. So also to the congregation, I feel really blessed that this church family and Lori and Donna were here to do God's work in her life, because she couldn't believe all the housewarming for her apartment at the time was for her, and this was her stuff, and she was just like that young girl. So I think Judy got her trained on how to be more independent, and then she got to do that next step. I just imagine to someone in their 20s getting their first apartment, that is exactly what her look and her demeanor was like at that time. And so that's the memory that I have of Linda. And when I sat back there, I almost turned around to tap her leg because she used to sit behind me. So she did bring joy. She kind of had a little wild spirit to her, and in her heart, she was an advocate for God.
Good morning. Good morning. Everyone that's here, my name is Larry. I knew Linda for a short time, but I knew that she loved her family, and I knew that she loved God. You know, she would often talk about him, and you know, it's something about being connected to God yourself, because you can know a person by the way they carry themselves and the way they speak, you know. And Linda had that type of spirit where she would kind of grow on you. I met her for the first time when we came to Arbuckle Community Church. She would also sit behind me. And I don't know what it was about my earlobe, but she told me one Sunday after church, she said, I was just so tempted to just pull on your earlobe, and, you know, because it was just there. I said, okay. So a few Sundays after that, I said, well, you know what, when you get that urge, you can pull on my earlobe. And she used to do that. It was just her spirit and her kindness, you know. I know she's going to be missed, especially by her family and friends and loved ones. But, you know, when you have that peace and that love for God, it makes it a little bit easier, you know, when you know the Lord and he tells his children, you know, you've done what I require of you to do. Now it's time for you to come home, you know. And sometimes that's hard, but we have to understand God blessed each and every one of us to be here for a little while. And Linda is home now, you know, because he said once you absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, and that's the one thing we can look forward to, those that truly love the Lord and have accepted him into their lives, because he's always accepted us into his life. We just have to accept him. And you know, I just want to thank each and every one of you, and I thank the family for such a loving person as Linda, you know. it was just a blessing for me to get to know him.
Jesus told us in Matthew 25:34, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I was sick, and you looked after me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? And when did we see you a stranger and invite you in? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "I tell you the truth, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me." There were many people who took to heart Jesus' words. And I want to thank you all for caring about Linda and her family and being there. And I know that if Linda was here, she would say thank you as well. I have a couple thoughts on death, and Linda had these same thoughts. Death is a passage for me. I feel very grateful for my whole life, but when it comes time for me to pass on, it's not going to be a sad day. Because I know where I'm going. On one of my visits with Linda, I just remember it was the first time I brought food. And I brought some food over there from the food distribution. And she just wanted to give me a hug, and she gave me a hug, and we were hugging, and she was just talking in my ear about how grateful she was for her time. And how grateful she was for the reconciliation that was happening with her family. But she also said that she was ready. And if it was what the Lord desired, she was okay. During this conversation, I remember I told her, "Hey, I don't think it's time yet. Keep fighting." And I know she battled on for a couple more months. And I knew in my heart, I knew that when the time was right, when it was time for the Lord to call her home, she would know. But she fought. And then I was there just a couple days before, or the day before she passed. And she was asleep, and I can tell she was preparing herself to go. And it was that morning that I think she was saying, "I love you, I love you." And her attitude as an overcomer, her spirit of a victorious person, was still so present in that time. And it reminded me of a poem about cancer. And it's called "Cancer is So Limited." It goes like this: "Cancer is so limited. It cannot cripple love. It cannot shatter hope. It cannot corrode faith. It cannot eat away peace. It cannot destroy confidence. It cannot kill friendship. It cannot shut out memories. It cannot silence courage. It cannot invade the soul. It cannot reduce eternal life. It cannot quench the spirit. And it cannot lessen the power of resurrection." This certainly represented Linda. This past Tuesday at 11:05, Linda slipped from our presence into the presence of her Heavenly Father. And I expect that Jesus was waiting for her, and the first thing he said was, Well done, Linda. You have been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Will you join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we do commit Linda's spirit to you. We ask you to continue to hold her as you have these last couple days. We ask that you just love her. I know it's weird for us to ask you because we know you love her more than we could ever. But remind her of her love that she has here being poured upon her. And Lord, as I know Linda is there jumping up and down and celebrating and being victorious, Lord. As Heather said earlier, probably saying to us, stop the fussing. Because she's in a better place. We know, Lord, that even though she's in a better place, it's still hard for us. We're left behind, Lord. There's holes in our heart. And those holes will never go away. But Lord, we ask you to fill them up with love. Fill them up with peace. Fill them up with hope. And fill them up with joy, Lord. I know that's what Linda would want for her children, her grandchildren, and her friends. We celebrate her, Lord. We celebrate those memories. And we ask you to always allow us to remember them. In Jesus' most holy and precious name we pray. Amen. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. We will keep the room open so you can talk and pray if you would like to. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming. On behalf of the family, thank you for coming.